Alright guys, Sunday afternoon, just coming up to 1 p.m. and I thought I'd just come out for a couple of minutes and take a few measurements of the head to confirm the last time we took measurements of the valve guide clearance. So it is indeed beyond the recommended tolerances, so we will be making a visit to the machine shop this week. I have ordered, as of this morning, new intake and exhaust valves. New hardened seats for both the intake and exhaust, although the exhaust might be the only ones installed. I'll let the machine shop decide. We ordered new springs as well. As mentioned, I already have the guides, so this is pretty much ready to go to the shop once I receive those parts, which will hopefully be here by the end of this week. Then obviously I need to drop the head off to the shop. That'll probably be at least another week to 2 weeks before I get this head back. So as far as this is concerned, we're going to have to find some other jobs to do in the meantime until I get the head back. So we'll transition to other parts of the car. This afternoon, I'm just working on the head studs. There are some bolts here that actually have the nuts seized onto them. So I've had them soaking in penetrating oil overnight, and we're going to attempt to get those off here now and get those cleaned up. For when we get the head back, we can actually be prepared to get that back on the car rather quickly. So that's it for now, guys. That's the update from the garage this morning or this afternoon, and not too exciting, and I don't like waiting, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do. All right, guys. All right, just went up to 5 p.m. The hot one out here, it's 90 plus. But I figure what we'll do this afternoon is we'll take a quick look up on the mezzanine for a few parts that I'm missing. In particular, I'm missing my coil in my coil bracket. I'm missing the oil feed line to the head. And I'm also missing the radiator. I'm not sure if I threw the rad out because it was in such bad condition or whether I just stored it up on top of the mezzanine. So, see a couple of trailing arms up there with a bin under that. So, probably attack it from this side. I've gone through the front couple bins here. I know one, and I think the blue one there is a wiring harness for the 250. I'm not sure what's below it. But anyway, we'll go through what's up there the best we can. We got the ladder out. And we'll get up there and we'll start pulling stuff down and having a look. I'm not sure even what's in that garbage bag up there beside that red Husky box, but I know that's my gas tank over there in that black bag, and I can see my trans tunnel, so I might even pick that down just so I can have something to work on in my spare time. Alright guys, success. I found another bin which I believe has a lot of the stuff I've been looking for. Still have yet to go through it, but just a quick peek inside and I think I can see a few things I need. I'm definitely spoiled for parts. I've got a couple of rocker shafts actually, which might be better than the one I have. So the one in the white one came off my 73 TR6. This other one here came off a 250, and I believe those are 2 valve covers. I must already have 2 or 3 valve covers kicking around somewhere. So I don't know how I've got so many valve covers, but I must have 5 valve covers, stock valve covers total, so I don't know, I need to have a garage sale at some point in time. Anyway, I'm going to dig through this bin. It's going to be like Christmas, and see what I can find. Oh, I found my rad, which is there, which looks like it's seen better days. It looks like at one point it looks like the fan may have actually struck the face of it, but I'm not sure how that could happen. But anyway, it looks not too bad. I maybe take this to a shop locally. There's a pretty good dent in it down there, and have it looked at and maybe pressure tested, and I'll see what they can do with it before I decide on whether I want to buy another rad or not. So good afternoon as far as finds are concerned, and got a little bit of space up there to put some stuff back up there. So anyway, all right guys, Monday night at the Taj Mahal, just coming up to 7:30 p.m. And our power hour for tonight is to clean up these 14 nuts to go with these head studs that I'd cleaned up the other day. So we will go ahead and start cleaning these up, and it'll probably take an hour, so that will probably be my power hour for this evening. All got to be done. So here we go. Well, when they ask me tomorrow at work around the water cooler what I did last night, I'm going to tell them I polished my nuts. Alright guys, back in the garage Tuesday afternoon. Beautiful day outside today. It's about 25 degrees Celsius, so just shy of 80, and a nice breeze. So anyway, just wanted to bring you up to date on my nut situation. I painted my nuts last night. Normally I don't paint my nuts. because they don't really survive the installation process. So anyway, we're going to see what we can do with these. I actually have painted them with this sort of CAD kit from Eastwood, and I also clear coated them. So we'll try to be careful when we install these head nuts. Now, the reason why I painted these is because I find the thing that rusts the quickest and is the most visible on this car are the head nuts themselves. So we've attempted to paint them, or we have painted them, but we'll see what they look like after installation. I'm hoping that I may be able to just get away with doing a little bit of touch-ups on them after we've installed and torqued them down. So we'll see how that works out. It may not work out at all. I may end up stripping them back down with a wire brush, but thought we'd give it a shot anyway. And the other thing I can do is actually get some brand new zinc coated nuts as well, if need be. Anyway, we thought we would give it a shot, like I said, and I'll report back on the results after we get the head back and get it torqued down. Alright guys, just taking another quick look at the radiator for this car, and I'm just about to run it down to the radiator shop to get them to pressure test it for me and to make any recommendations on straightening the fins out. I just fitted up my Spal fan to it. This is a 18-inch fan, I believe. I'll have to look at it afterwards, but it fits absolutely perfectly within the dimensions of the stock TR250 rad frame. As a matter of fact, it actually fits on the ledge below perfectly, so it's actually got some support versus just using like a universal kit to wire it up, or the little feet. So yeah, and it fits perfectly within the borders of the frame. So it's squared off on the sides here, and on the side there, and then squared on the bottom. And like I said, it fits absolutely perfectly on a stock TR250 rad, so I couldn't be more happy with that. So anyway, let's take the rad down to the shop and see if it actually pressure tests okay, and I'll report back. Probably be a day or two before I get it back anyway. Alright, here's where we're at. Last time I was here was about 25 years ago. I dropped off some springs from a 1972 Le Mans Sport convertible to get re-arched. So it's been about 25 years. Anyway, alright guys, looking around for stuff that needs to be done, and I know the drive shaft's going to be needed shortly. So I figured I would start working on painting the drive shaft. The only issue was I've got two drive shafts, so it's having a bit of a dilemma figuring out which one actually went back on the car. And then I remembered that usually I mark the flanges when I take them off, after learning about that during my first Triumph TR6 restoration a long time ago. So I did mark the flange. So there you go, there's the flange mark there, and that actually coincides with the flange I marked on the diff flange. Lines up perfectly with the bolt holes. So I know that this rusty old drive shaft is the one that came off the 250. So that's the one we'll be looking at replacing the U-joints, scratching it down with a wire brush, repainting it, and getting it good to go back on the car. So this one is a spare. Alright guys, we've just done a preliminary cleanup of the drive shaft, and now we're just about to swap the U-joints out. So I'm not going to re-show this. I've already got a video on how I replace my U-joints. Maybe I'll try to put a link up in the corner if you want to go back and watch that. I've already done the stub axles, or the sliding axles on the rear of the car, which are the same process as doing the drive shaft, or propeller shaft as the Brits call it. So anyway, I'll just go ahead and swap these U-joints out, and we'll continue to clean up the yoke ends and reassemble it and get it ready to be painted. Okay, just before we put it back together, drive shaft's all cleaned, not painted yet. We're going to wait to paint it until we put the new U-joints in. So flanges are ready to go, drive shaft's ready to go, U-joints are here. Let's get to work putting the new U-joints in. We'll come back once it's painted. Alright guys, Wednesday night, just coming up to 8:45, and rotten night outside, pouring rain. It's supposed to rain pretty much all night into tomorrow morning. So not much to do out here in the garage tonight. I did get my radiator back, but obviously it's pretty dark out here in the garage, so we'll give you a better shot of that tomorrow. $150 to get it pressure tested and cleaned, and they painted it, not very well, but they painted it. So, oh, and they also straightened some of the fins, although it looks a little rough still. But anyway, I think we're going to go with it anyway, but again, I think I'll probably do a little bit of painting because I'm not happy with their paint job. Anyway, drive shaft is done, painted. That looks great, nice and shiny. New U-joints. I am going to see if I can get this paint off the U-joint caps. I actually greased the caps, so technically the paint shouldn't have stuck to those caps. It should just wipe right off. if my theory is correct. So we'll try to clean that up a little bit before we put that back on the car. I did bring out the nuts here for the drive shaft to put that back on, so we'll do that probably tomorrow. Sway bar, revisiting the sway bar. There's one of the brackets, the original brackets that came off this car. So we're going to go ahead and play around with the original brackets. I actually found the old bushings here, so that's why I was just out here trying to find the other bracket. It's in here somewhere in the garage. So we'll get going on that. So anyway, again, just a quick big mosquito bug. We'll take a quick visit out here tonight, just make sure everything's looking good, and then we'll get back out here tomorrow night and play around a bit. Tonight's just not going to happen. Too late, too rainy, too wet, too cold, etc., etc. And the ball game's on. See ya. Alright guys, Thursday the 27th of August 2020, and back on the project today. And we'll pick up where we left off. I'd mentioned that we got the drive shaft painted over the last couple of days, and it's nice and dry, so we're going to install that now. We've got our fasteners ready to go over here. And just a reminder that there's our actual special fasteners for installing the drive shaft and the rear axles. Have a special bolt, machine bolt for those, so make sure you use the correct fasteners so you don't wallow out your holes and destroy your flanges or your drive shaft or your axles. So again, I did get the radiator back from the radiator repair shop. It's not in the greatest of shape, but it's tested, and it tested well. So I've got to make a decision as to whether I'm going to go with that as is, or do some extra painting on it, or try to fix the fins up a bit more. I'm not sure what we're going to do. It looks to me like this originally had maybe an electric fan fitted. You can sort of see the outline of a fan. And I don't believe that's like a fan strike from the original fan, because I think the actual circumference of that that circle is bigger than the actual fan that's on the car. So I think there was an electric fan fitted at one point. I brought my bumper brackets out because I'm going to try to figure out what's going on with this front radiator protection shield and the sway bar fitment. And I figured I'd bring the bumper bars out just to see how those actually fit up with the radiator protection shield. So, a few things on the docket for today. So we'll start with the drive shaft. We'll start with the easy thing, hopefully the easy thing anyway, and we'll get the drive shaft installed, and then we'll come back and we'll move on to the next project. Alright guys, drive shaft is now installed and tightened down, so that looks good. My trick about putting grease on the caps of the U-joints worked. The paint just wiped off, so that's all good. So I think what we'll do now is I'm going to resist the urge to put the rad in, and I'm going to actually work on trying to figure out the sway bar first, because the rad's just going to get in the way of the fasteners for the radiator protection shield and the sway bar mount. So unfortunately I've got the one bracket there in the middle of the two bumper brackets that I found upstairs painted, and I know the other bracket is in here somewhere stored away. I've seen it before in the last couple of weeks, but I don't know where it went to now, so I've got to go through the bins unfortunately and see if I can find that, and I believe it needs to be painted as well. So gonna have to break down for a minute and do a little bit of a part search, and I'll report back when I find it, if I find it. Alright, we're starting from scratch to figure out what's going on with this front sway bar mount. So I've got the old lightened radiator protection shield and just fit that up temporarily, and it doesn't look like it fits any different than the one that I modified slightly. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to measure the old frame versus the new frame to see if the stick out the front of the frame is the same. The front nose of the frame might be different length. So I think I'll wander around to the backyard where I've got the old frame stashed, and we'll take a few measurements back there and see if this frame locates the same as the old frame. That's the only other thing I can think about what's going on with this sway bar mount at the front here. So we'll be back after we take some measurements. Well, the frame matches identically to the frame in the backyard, so no issues with the frame. So now I'm going to compare the actual radiator shields with each other and see if there's any differences there. I didn't think there was, but there's got to be a difference somewhere. So all the measurements check out on the old radiator protection shield and the new one as far as measurements are concerned. The only difference is the slight difference in the hole location, and I'll tell you about what that means over at the other one on the bench. And yes guys, I know that these are the stock stock holes over here for the stock type of bushings and mounts. But the fact is, this sway bar came off of this car, so it's got to go back on in some way, shape, or form. So that's the only thing that's getting me sort of confused. So I got some guys that said, well, buy the stock mounts and bushings. Well, no, I want to make what came off the car work first. Alright, there's the elongated holes, both sides, so we're going to try to fit this up again. So I think what I'll do is I'll assemble the sway bar and on the bottom of this radiator protection shield before I go and fit it up. Well guys, it's not often that I'm defeated, but I am in this case. This is definitely not going to fit for whatever reason. These are the brackets that came off the car, these are the bushings that came off the car, this is the sway bar that came off the car. This is the a different radiator protection shield, but like I said, all the measurements measure up, the hole locations line up, etc., etc., and it still does not come close to fitting. Even if I move this down and into the forward or the rearmost hole, which moves the plate all the way forward, the things are still not going to align up, the sway bar end links. So not even close. So I'm going to call this a major defeat. I'm going to break down as my final end game, I guess, is I'm going to buy the stock sway bar mount brackets and bushings. That's going to allow the bar to move forward again, probably at about another ½ an inch or so. That might give me a little bit more movement. But right now, it's not looking good. So we'll take this radiator protection shield completely off the car so I don't have to look at it. And we'll get these new brackets ordered and bushings ordered, and we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out eventually. It's just kicking my butt at the moment, and I'm tired of working on it and looking at it, so we'll move on to something else. Alright guys, check another thing off the list. The radiator is now installed. So a couple of rubber packings here on the base of the radiator, and then you've got your radiator stays on either side. That's looking not too bad. That fan kind of hides most of the damage on the front side. We'll have a better look at it when we get some better light out here, but I think it's going to be okay to run with. You're not going to see much of it when it's done anyway. So we've got the electric fan to go on the front of this, which I showed you, so we've got a fan installation kit to purchase for that. So that's going to be done for now, and we'll revisit that at a later date. So we'll find something else and move forward. Well, I'm literally running out of things to do while I'm waiting on parts for the head. So I'm doing things that I'm going to have to undo. So for example, put the distributor drive gear and the distributor pedestal in with the knowledge that I still need to do the end float, but also with the knowledge that I need to remove the gear to engage the oil pump shaft to prime the oil pump when I go to start this engine. So we're assembling it with the knowledge that it'll have to come apart again, and we'll have to do the end float check before we actually go ahead and put the gear and the pedestal back in along with the distributor. I'm just more or less trying to get parts on the car situated and get all the fasteners ready for them, etc., get parts cleaned up so I know that they're ready to go. So I'm doing stuff with the understanding that some of this stuff will need to be undone, but it'll be easier at that point to do it than trying to search for fasteners or trying to clean parts or paint parts, etc. So I'm going to find the distributor, and we're going to get that plugged in there just temporarily, just to get it off the floor, and then we'll move on to something else. Alright guys, we've got the distributor just sitting in there, and the plan for the distributor is actually to send this out over the winter time to Jeff at Advanced Distributors to rebuild this for me. He does good work, so we'll be sending this out, but I wanted to keep it just in order to get the car fired up for the first time, and then over the winter months when we're not requiring it, because I understand there's a bit of lead time with Jeff, we'll send it down to him with the appropriate information for how this engine is set up, or will be set up, and Jeff will make this distributor sing. Alright, just about to shut the garage down for the night. We did a bit of a cleanup and organize out here. We managed to put all the head parts together that are eventually going to be going to the machine shop. Update on the parts: they're arriving at my mailbox in Niagara Falls on Monday apparently. By the time I get them shipped up to my mailbox in Ontario, it's probably going to be mid to end of week next week. And then of course I've got to take everything to the machine shop. So it's looking like at least 2 to 3 weeks before I get the head back, depending on how much lead time the shop gives me. I may have to shop around for a shop. Pretty much done everything I can do on the car. I did put the coil on just for fun, just to get the bracket and the hardware on there, although I have a new bracket and a new coil coming, so again, that's something that'll come off the car once we get the new parts in. So, yeah. I guess what I'll have to do next is, the only part that I have remaining to go on the car is this universal joint for the steering rack down there, which I've got to replace the old one. I need to find a bolt to plug this oil feed to the head. Since I'm not going to be using that oil feed, I need to plug that hole with a copper washer and a proper bolt. So I've got to find something to do that with. Other than that, I really need to go back through the front end. As I mentioned, I haven't torqued anything down on the front end yet. Haven't done any of the lock plates basically for the brake backing plate. So that needs to be done. I need to do a little bit of rework on the front trunnion and vertical link. I'll go over that when I get to that. So I could do that kind of work, but that's not very exciting for you to watch me do. I also need to tighten up all the brake union fittings on the rear of the car. So again, not much I can do without parts. So I'll leave you with that. I'll upload this tonight so you can see where I'm at, and guess we'll go from there. Not much else to say really. So things are coming together. Starter is coming with the head parts, so we're waiting for that. Waiting for my fan mounting kit, so I can't do that. Sucks waiting for parts. Okay, we'll leave it there, and we'll upload this, and we'll get back out here tomorrow, and we'll figure something out. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for commenting. Thanks for subscribing. Talk to you later.